Hello and welcome. Now this video is going to be kind of a part 2 of my knife sharpening video where I sharpened this Spyderco Tenacious. Okay, I kind of like gave you an introduction, you know, my setup. It's very important that I must stress that obviously this is the way I do it. Other people may do it completely different. That's fine. But this system just works for me and gets my knives really sharp, and I'm happy with it. There's no real reason for me to go out and spend £200-300 on a you know, crazy sharpener at all. It's just out of the question. It's not in my budget, even though I do have a lot of knives. Okay, so the first one was really like an introduction, you know, how to use the Sharpmaker on a normal kind of size knife. Alright, but I thought that it would be interesting to make another video, part 2, to show you how I would sharpen more complex knives. Alright, I mean there are other sharpeners available. I didn't really mention this in my last video, but this is a Lansky puck. Alright, and what you'd use this for is you'd normally use it for an axe. Okay, it's kind of like well, I've got it as a whetstone. I haven't put any oil in it. You got a choice really when you get one of these to either put oil in it, but then it's always an oil stone, or just to soak it in water overnight. And if your axe or machete is quite blunt, it won't really cut very well. Use the coarse grit, the rough grit, and then use the finer grit. And what I tend to do with that is, I won't really show you on this because it absolutely ruin it, but what I tend to do is I do circular motions up the blade edge, alright, on an axe or a machete or something like that. I'm gonna do another video on that, on this and a machete of my choice, and hopefully that'll give you some more information that will help you sharpen your machetes and axes and things. That's another sharpening system. You get some that are on knives these days as well, like this Bear Grylls Gerber, where the sharpener is actually on the back. Okay, and now what you want to do with this one is you don't want to be going that way, you want to be going this way, so that because it's at an angle, okay, it kind of slopes upwards. You want to be pushing, slicing like that, and then the other way you would, well, you'd do that, and then you would kind of do it that way, if you see what I mean. Okay, you wouldn't do this and then that. All right, it's all upwards. Okay, both sides, and that's a diamond sharpening plate, I suppose. And the Sharpmaker, I tried to get it sharp on the Sharpmaker, and it just wouldn't. I don't know why, just wouldn't. But on this, it gets it sharp. Might be Gerber's Mystery Steel or something, but at least there is a way of getting this knife sharp. And I thought the Sharpmaker would be fine with it. Maybe if I had the diamond rods, it'd probably eat through it. But nonetheless, you also get these little, well, not very good, I don't think, knife sharpening systems where you just put the blade in and you pull through it. They're okay if you're in the field and your knife is as blunt as anything and you just need a little bit of an edge. They're okay for that, and they're quite lightweight, a lot lighter than carrying a big old system. But if you use one of these, you won't get a very sharp edge, and also the edge won't last not even half as long as a dedicated system. Anyway, I thought I'd have that in the video to start off with, few minutes in, and now we'll talk about some of the more complicated knives to sharpen. This is my Spyderco Shemprock. It is a bit of a monster to sharpen. I'm going to be drawing comparisons with the Tenacious throughout the video, because the Tenacious is quite a plain edge blade. The shape is very easy to sharpen, but you look at the shape for the Sharpening, and it's got this recurve, and the same for the Cold Steel Spartan and other knives with a recurve. Basically, the way I do it is in 2 stages. Okay, I would sharpen that bit there and just make a kind of mental note of where it goes, because more often than not, if it's a really long motion to go through the whole thing, but it can be done. But I would like to just go about halfway, because if you go over where your mental note is, or if you go below it, you'll make up for it when you kind of break even on the second stage. Alright, and like I say, it's not going to do it any damage, especially not putting too much pressure on the system to take a little bit of that edge off. And remember, you're only doing about 40 strokes on the rods, so that's what, 40, 80, you've got 160 strokes. That's not an awful lot, really, and it's not, put it this way, it's not going to turn your blade blunt by doing that. Anyway, so that's how I deal with a recurve. I would do it in 2 parts. It depends on the length of the blade and the depth of that curve, but more often than not, I would sharpen it in 2 parts. So that's that one. These are quite popular, Spyderco Bug, and you're thinking, oh yeah, it's not even 8CR 13 MOV, I don't think. How would you sharpen this one? Well, just the same as normal. This might look very, very silly, but nonetheless exactly the same. Just do that. Very, very slight movements, but of course you can sharpen that very quickly. So that's that blade. Victorinox. I've got plenty of Victorinoxes. The good thing about them is that they're quite sharp and they're very, very easy to sharpen. The blade steel is very soft and you can quite easily get a nice edge. It's one of the best selling factors of Victorinox knives. They're easy enough to sharpen. And you can get a nice sharp edge on them if you're using a system like so. Anyway, so that's Victorinox, and you would use the same for the smaller blade, which this one doesn't have. Okay, now we come to, well, large blades. This is a Calypso. It's longer than the Tenacious. Again, probably a bit of common sense. I would do it in 1 part, but in 1 swooping motion or 1 drawing motion. What you've got to do is you've just got to take your time, not put too much pressure on, and always be careful of this guard here. It's difficult to get a sharp, the cutting edge sharp there, so take your time. Already that's just well, it hasn't cut me, but it's grabbed onto me, which is excellent. But there we go. Larger blades, it's a bit of common sense. You just need to be probably a little bit more careful. And then we come to what I call we've got multi-tools. So multi-tools, Leatherman. I think it's this one with the S30V on it. Can you see that? I don't want to drop it on my feet here, but yeah, S30V. Again, I put this knife through everything you can think of. Alright, so for me, I like to give it 40, maybe 50 strokes with these brown ceramic ones, and then build up from there, because I know that I'm going to put it through a lot and it's going to hold its edge. So it's already very sharp anyway, but just to show you exactly the same way as all of the rest. That's multi-tool, how you sharpen that. And then we come to more complex knives. such as this tank of a knife, this pole force, and even this gerber. I mean, you're thinking, how on earth are you going to sharpen these? Because this is quite straightforward. You put it on the system and you just stroke, 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 and you will get it sharp. But with this, one of these things, it's 3 times more difficult, I suppose. One, because there's this plane edge. 2, there's this plane edge. 3, there's this serration, but the fact that it's only chisel ground and it's not, you know, it's only ground on one side. So you're thinking, oh, I'm going to have to treat all of these kind of different parts of the blade differently. Well, yeah, I suppose you are. The easiest way I do it is I normally start with the tip, okay? So when I would sharpen, hold the knife vertically again and just do this, okay? Exactly the same kind of way. Be patient with it. Then I work on the plain edge area. So again, now you've got to be careful though, not to go past the actual angle. It's difficult to do, and more often than not you probably wear that down. But if you're sharpening as often as possible, and you've got a good technique nailed down, then I would say that's just going to be one of those things you just got to watch out for. Okay, unless you've got one of those bench grinders or one of those belt sanders, something like that, where you can literally just, you know, put that in front of it, flip it over, and then work along it. This is just my system, and if people have just this system and they don't have access to a you know, belt sander or anything like that, then this is hopefully helpful for you guys. Now with serrations, well, I could use the multi-tool actually, because this has got serrations on it. But this, again though, they're chisel ground. Okay. Well, I don't have a proper serrated knife here, but it's the same kind of deal. All right. If it's got serrations on both sides and it's not chisel ground like this one, what you would do is you would literally just sharpen, do the strokes across the rods on both sides, but you wouldn't go to that stage. You wouldn't go to that stage. Reason being is because, if I show you here, when you're when you're stroking across the rod, the raised element of the rod gets in between those grooves and actually sharpens them. And it's a lot easier than getting round rods and, you know, working all the serrations out individually. Remember, serrations, a serrated part of the knife will last the longest in terms of edge, but it's also, I say, the hardest, most time consuming part of a knife to sharpen. However, with the Sharpmaker it's quite simple. If it's got serrations on both sides, you'd do it normal, but you wouldn't go to the next flat part of the rod stage. This has got chisel ground, so what you do with the chisel ground, where it's only ground on one side, is it's ground on this side, so you'd do about 5 to 10 strokes, and then you just do 1 on the opposite side just to cut that burr off, because the steel will have been accumulating and building up on the other edge, and obviously it will be raised there, so you just need to cut that burr off with the other side. You don't need to keep stroking on the other side. It's literally more on the side that is serrated. So yeah, it can be quite complicated if you're not careful, but I hope that's helped you anyway. Just give you a bit of an insight into the different types of knives that there are and the challenges that you might have to overcome when using a system like this. Anyway, I hope that's helped. If you want me to make any more videos that are like this, kind of tutorials, well, tutorials in my word really, it's not not tried and tested. I'm not a knife guru or anything, but if you do want any more or similar things like the machete sharpening, axe sharpening, by all means put a comment down below. Please do that, and thank you for joining me this evening, and thanks for watching. Take care.